Allow me to start by marking the register. Collins Kipyego. Just say present. Ikao Titus. Jonathan Njoki. Sigwe Zuo. Absent. Roika Bat. Present. Derek. Hesbon. Vincent. Murage Ian. Christopher. Kyoko Morris. Musa Ali. Charles Baraka. Present. Joel Gaspar. Present. Patrick Maina. Present. Michael Kinusu. Present. John T.J. Kariuki. Brian Mwanzia. Present. Brave Kutieno. Present. Last, we learned something on accidents and safety workshop. So somebody should remind us, what are the factors considered to be safe in a workshop? Maybe you need to wear your safety boots. So what are the factors considered in a workshop? Yes. Good lighting. The workshop should be well lit to avoid obstructions. Any other? Yes, Barak.
Wear proper personal protective equipment.
You wear the PPEs, the personal protective equipment. For example, safety boot, helmets,
gloves,
hand gloves, any other overall or dust coat. Good. So in our today's session, today is 25th. We learned something on drawing, working diagram, working diagrams, and electrical symbols. Working diagrams and electrical symbols. So our learning outcomes. By the end of this session, you should be able to define or know the meaning of working drawing. Know the meaning of working drawings. Secondly, you should be able to draw at least six standard electrical symbols. Standard electrical symbols. So the session should be electrical drawings, working drawings, and electrical symbols, right? So maybe I will volunteer to define the term electrical drawing. One of us to define the term electrical drawing. Electrical drawing. Yes, Baraka.
Electrical drawings are drawings used.
These are drawings. Used during electrical installation. During electrical installation.
For proper planning and circuiting.
For proper planning and circuiting. Well, when you are in a a site or an electrical installation site, you need to have a plan on how to install the electric power according to the standard operating procedures and according to the given architectural design. So, in any case, you are given a room. You have to be shown where to place your switch, where to place your fluorescent tubes, where to place your sockets, and that is why we need to understand what working drawings are. They are just guidelines that are used by a technician to know any moment he or she is given an installation, he is able to know where to place his or her switch, his or her sockets. Of course, you can't place something like a switch in a bathroom, right? Yeah, so you have to know very well the place. So I'll request one of you to come help me in this chart. Yeah, please come. Just to guide us through what we want to learn today. Thank you. So just as the way we stated, working drawing is a scale drawing of an object to be made or structure to be built intended to direct by the workman. This is just a clear direction that directs a workman. So in those our groups, there were 3 groups. Let's gather and discuss. One group to discuss block diagram, the second group to discuss schematic diagram, the third group to discuss circuit diagram. Just group 1 to assemble here, discuss block diagram. The second group to assemble in the middle to discuss schematic diagram. Then the third group to discuss wiring diagram. Right? Wiring diagram. Please, let's do that very fast. Group 1, just move this side to discuss the block diagram. Group 2 to move in the middle to discuss schematic diagram. Then group 3 to discuss wiring diagram. And then each and every group represent, give us their findings on block diagram, on schematic diagram, and on wiring diagram. I hope our time is up for discussion. So each and every group can represent one person to come and discuss their findings. Group 1. Group 1. Group 1. Which group is ready? Yes, Baraza. Come and represent your findings here. So you are doing block diagram, right? Yes. Yeah, you can just discuss it here. What you do. Okay, block diagram. Let's pay attention to what Baraza is telling us. A block diagram. We start with the definition of block diagrams. Definition of block diagrams. It's a diagram of a system in principle. Is a diagram of
continuously.
Are represented by blocks.
And then now he draws for us an example of a block diagram, right? Example of a block diagram, Baraza.
Okay, I have an example of a block diagram. A circuit providing power to a strobe light.
Yes. Can we clap for Baraza? As you can see, in block diagrams, all our components are either represented with a square bracket, or a rectangular block. All the diagrams, all the components are normally represented in either a square diagram or a rectangular block, right? Just as you can see here, to reinforce on that, we have a control unit or a consumer unit, only represented in a block, supplying a switch also in a block, then lighting point. All the representation are in block. Now the second group that was representing schematic diagram. Second group. Yes.
Yes, what is schematic diagram?
This is to provide a more.
Yes?
Is to provide a more.
Used to provide a more.
Use?
To provide a more tailored.
A more?
Tailored
Yes.
response of guidance.
Or
Guidance
guidance?
on how to create.
Yes.
On how to create the diagram.
So this is to create it is to guide you on how to create the block diagram, of which maybe I can use my own block diagram.
Schematic diagram. We use now the symbols.
Yeah, okay. If I have a switch here, a main switch, which symbol is like this. So this is the main switch. Then we have a switch. A switch means, let's say we have a single switch. The symbol is like that. Then we go to lighting.
Yeah. Very nice. Very good. Let's clap for this man here. Now on schematic diagram, we now use symbols, electrical symbols, to represent our final diagram. Like this is now the consumer unit, the CCU, serving a single way switch, then to our lamp. Right? Very simple, the schematic diagram. You don't need any detail in it. just from the consumer unit using the symbols to switch, then to lamp, right? Now let's discuss group 3 to discuss wiring diagram. Group 3, a representative come and show us wiring diagram. You can use this mid space to show us the wiring diagram.
So what is wiring diagram? It's a simplified conventional tutorial. Yeah. It is a simplified convention tutorial. Yeah. Tutorial. Represented of an electric right. Of an electric circuit.
So according to group 3, wiring diagram is a simplified conventional pictorial representation of an electric circuit. Example now in drawing.
Hii ndio inaitwa hii nini? Hii ni circuit breaker. Hapa kuna earth. Hapa tuko na switch. Hapa hivi. Lamp. So, waya ya mwisho inatoka hapa hivi hadi kwa lamp direct. Then inakuja inapita hapa. Alafu hapa hivi kwa switch inatoka moja hadi kwa lamp.
Yes, well explained. As you can see, wiring diagram, it's now more detailed than the schematic diagram. In wiring diagram, we now see what is inside the consumer unit, right? In the consumer unit, we have a circuit breaker. We have a neutral bar and an earth bar. Now, you can see we've used now wires in wiring our components. From the detailed consumer unit, you produce a live wire going to the common terminal of the switch. This is the switch. From the switch, lamp is now fed from this switch. When you operate it, the lamp will light. The neutral doesn't go inside the switch. Neutral normally goes direct to the lamp, right? Yeah. Any question about the working diagrams? Anybody with any question? Right, now our first objective is done. Second one was to draw at least 6 standard electrical symbols, right? So the first chart is used that was guiding us on working diagrams. Now let's see what we have on electrical symbols. Another volunteer to come help me mount these charts showing us electrical symbols. I hope everybody can now see what electrical symbols are, right? Now, electrical symbols, just by definition, are symbols that guide us differentiate different electrical components that we can now use in drawing our schematic diagrams. They are symbols that guide us in representing electrical components that we use in drawing schematic diagrams. So for example, we have some few electrical symbols here. Maybe one person will identify some of the symbols using this using a 1 minute paper. Somebody can write any of the symbols that you are seeing on the chart, then come and pin this paper on that chart, right? Anybody seeing a symbol that he or she knows? Yeah. Good. He has identified an intermediate switch, right? Very good. Next person. Is there any that you can identify there? Yes. What can you identify? In our electrical symbols. Good. Mains control. Mains control, all the main consumer unit, right? Yes, next person. Tell us what that thing is. 2-pole, one-way switch. Good. 2-pole, one-way switch. Any other person? Yes. What is that? A socket outlet. Is it a single outlet or a multiple outlet? A single socket outlet. Very good. Baraka, what can you identify amongst our list of symbols? I can identify a time switch. Timer switch. Maybe that you can draw for us in the board to just illustrate a timer switch. Time switch. Identified and drawn a time switch. This kind of switch is you use your time maybe to switch your bulb. Maybe you want your bulb, if it reaches 6 p.m., all the lights in the compound are switched on. So that is where we apply time to switch, right? Any other component that is remaining Maybe one person can represent as a socket outlet with more than one, maybe double socket or multiple socket outlets. One person to identify the multiple socket outlets. Ah, yes. Socket outlet, multiple socket outlet, yes. Multiple socket outlets. So that is an example of multiple socket outlets with two plugs. You can use it to supply more than one plug, right? Yeah, those are the application, various electrical symbols that we normally use. So, and that help us cover this objective number 2, identification of various electrical symbols, right? So maybe one person to remind us of what we've learned in our session review. Somebody who can remind us on what we've learned today. What we've learned today in our today's session, from where we started. Anybody? Yes? Safety in a workshop, right? Any other person? Let's resume our seats. Let's dismantle the groups and resume our seats now. Just sit to your right position. Right. And I'm requesting all of us to stand up, please. All of us to stand up. Now, one person reminding us to, whatever we learned today, then you sit down. You remind us what you learned today, then you sit down. Yes, starting from you. What have you learned today? Working drawings. Thank you. Any other person? Yes? Electrical drawings. You can sit down. Any other person? Electrical, various types of electrical symbols, right? Yeah. Can sit. One example? Yes?
Two-way switch.
Two-way switching, yes. Can sit. Main switch, yes. Intermediate switch, yes. Socket outlet, yes.
Wiring diagram.
Wiring diagram gives a detailed information on how to wire our circuit, right? Yeah, you can see it. Yes?
Time switch.
Time switching we use in timing, right?
Push button.
Push button switch, yes. Intermediate switch. Yeah? That's good. We can all sit down. And that is the end of our today's session. Any question? Any question? Yes?
I wanted to ask that how do you draw a wiring diagram of a socket?
How to draw a wiring diagram of a socket?
That has three multiple plugs.
Three multiple plugs.
Yeah.
Right. You start from the consumer unit. We have the circuit breaker in our consumer unit, the neutral terminal and the earth terminal, right? And then we have our socket having a 3 plug. That is the first plug, the second plug, and the third plug, right? So take line, comes to the line part of the terminal, then you loop the same line to the second one, you loop it to the second terminal, then you loop it to our third outlet. Take your neutral, as I said this is neutral, then do a jumper, loop it to our neutral, again to our neutral, and then thirdly to our neutral. Then take your line, it comes straight to this, then loop back to this, then you loop into that. That is how we draw our wiring diagram of our three socket outlet. Any other question? Yes?
Let's say you want to control, you want to light two bulbs,
Yes.
and you want to use, maybe you use the intermediate switch when you are using that socket in your model. Which is the gun to use, the two-way or
That we use two-way switching, right? We'll use two-way switching. Our consumer will remain the supply, the main supply, and then you draw your first switch here, and then the second switch. Let me say this is the first switch at the door, then the second switch at the far end. So this is a two-way switching. Two-way switching. And a switch, inside the switch there is a name that is given to each terminal. This is called common terminal. This is like L1 and L2. L2. L1 is normally closed, and L2, unless you operate it, it's when it will make a contact, right? Same to the other switch, common terminal, L1 and L2. L1 is normally closed. L2, unless you operate your switch, is when it will come from this point, then close the other end, right? And then now you have your bulb, or the lighting point here. Now take line to a common terminal. Take line to a common terminal, right? Take what we call wires or strappers. Terminate one strapper from L1 to L1 of the second switch. Terminate a second strapper from L2 to L2 of the second switch. Right? From the second switch, take your lamp feed, or the wire that feeds our lamps from the common terminal of the switch 2 to this lamp. So, then neutral will always go direct without passing to the switch. It goes direct to our lamp. So whenever you operate this switch, the bulb will light. If you come and operate this other switch, the bulb will go off. That is how two-way switching operates. Any other question? If there is no question, then that is the end of our session, or the learning output number 2. Until next time, thank you for your cooperation.